Hey everyone, my name is Seth. You're watching Ray on Tech TV, and today in this session we will be continuing on the grid part as we were discussing editable grid in the last section. Today we will be discussing opposite to editable grid, that is read-only grid. So read-only grid is quite simple if you understand how the data is displayed in an editable grid. So read-only grid is just kind of a uh, lighter version of editable grid. So let me clear editable grid that we did last time so that you can understand better. We have cleared the editable grid code. Let's go to a read-only grid component where it is. Yep, we are having read-only grid. Just drag and drop it. Let me open the documentation for your better understanding. We'll talk about the documentation later. Let me show you first how quickly we can populate data using read-only grid. Now, a read-only grid is mainly used to showcase the data in a refined manner to the target user. Now, read-only grid has a special purpose when the data has to be just shown and it has to be refined. The data can be of these many sources, so you can use read-only grid for that purpose. You can define column definition, refresh. The good thing about read-only grid is paging is quite good controlled in read-only grid. Like you are having paging and sorting. It is not available until data has not been populated. So basically there are multiple ways, you know. So let's populate the data. Then we can see how the read-only grid works. There are various ways that you can generate the data from as a source. So I'll pick one of the easiest ones, that is record type. So if you search the record type, so I'm showing you everything in design mode. If you show the code, you can see it's quite simple. A bank grid field label, and this is this. So once you select the source of your data, then the columns will be populated and the data will also be populated. So let's search the record type, my favorite, view of customers. So if I select view of customer, automatically Appian will understand the definition of this record type, the column definition, and their respective data types. Based upon that, Appian will actually populate the grid with respect to different columns. If we explore this VOF customer, we will see that we are having certain actions. For example, update customer, which automatically is being detected by Appian for this particular row item. So that is why record actions are a part of this column. So we are having column 1, 2, 3, 4. As you can see, there might be more columns or there might be less columns. For example, created on, updated by. So as you can see, they are not a part of this right now. So you can configure which column should be visible on your read-only grid and which should not be a part of it. Also, as you can see that paging is by default present here in read-only grid. So let's talk about paging in a better context right now. So last time I discussed about paging here. So we are having initial sorting and then secondary sorting and then number of rows to display per page. You can define these many configurations to make your grid much more, developer specific. So for example, if I do 20, yep. So now you can see 20 rows are being displayed per page. Now, if I don't do any kind of configuration, what I will get? I will get by default standard configuration of 10 rows per page in the pagination. Similarly, there are visual appearances which you can define in the read-only grid. For example, label position. So in the previous sessions of whatever I've shown you in expression mode of Appian, today I'm showing you in design mode so that you can understand that how we can use design mode if you're a beginner. So we are having read-only grid. We can define anything that we want. label position above, instructions. Don't forget to subscribe, help tooltip, like the video. And if the source from where the data has to come is not populating the data because the data is not coming from the source, the empty grid message will also become. So like there will be a message on the grid that there is no data, or whatever you will write here in the custom message. Data not found at source. Visibility. Do you want to show this grid on a particular specific condition? So we can do some specific visibility conditions. For example, only show when. If user is a member of a particular group, then only show. If if user is a member of a particular group, this can be the condition. Or for example, you might be working with some kind of a master table, and you can check it that if your rule input is not empty, not null or empty in your master table, then only show to the grid. Kind of those conditions you can put down based upon your like requirement at runtime. Styling. You can choose dense or like standard spacing. So I choose a standard spacing. That's by default. Dense I choose. It it changed a little bit. Similarly, height we can choose auto, border style, light, shade alternate rows, row header. I don't need any header. Accessibility text you already know. Selection, is this selectable or not? So if it is selectable, there will be a checkbox beside each row item. Save selection into, so based upon the number of items that you are selecting, do you have to save it in a separate variable? Then you can configure it. But the condition is that has to be of the same type that is coming from this source. So you can select a variable and you can select the selection style checkbox highlight or like row highlight. So this is selection. Validations. Does this grid has any validations or is it a part of any validation group? So validation we'll be talking about from the documentation. Till now we understood that how we can populate a basic read-only grid coming from a record type. This session is for beginners who are intending to study grids and how read-only grid is differentiating from an editable grid. Previous session we have discussed already and how we can use editable grid. So yeah, as I told you, we are having columns. Like even if we edit this part as an expression, we can see that in the column configuration, we are having grid column and we are having customer name. And then similarly, we are having another. If I collapse you, you will be able to see that it is a very simple code. So it starts from ABANG local variables and ends here. Inside that, we are having certain grid columns. Grid column 1, grid column 2, grid column 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Similarly, we can also configure whatever we are having the implementation here in design mode. We can do the same in expression mode. In expression mode, whatever we have done here in the design mode, it is automatically being rendered here in the code. Now, if I close everything, you can see that read-only grid is quite easy to understand. Even if I collapse the columns, you can see that ABANG grid field, label, label position, simple, instructions, and help tooltip. These are very common properties. Empty grid message, when there is no data in the source, you can write an empty grid message. Now, what is data? Data is like we are defining the source of data. You are defining the source of the data as record type. We have customer. Now columns, how the column will be defined, it is your custom implementation, right? As I told you, you can add more columns or you can remove more remove also. So let's suppose if I remove second last column, that is what is contact information. So if I remove this, I can see that my contact information is not there, right? So as per your requirement, whatever you want to populate in the grid, you can choose. How you want to populate, that also you can choose. So if we explore the tier column, so we can see that label is tier, sort field is tier, value is, we are using tier to display the tier coming from a record type column, and we are using rich text icon, color icon, tier properties icon, and label. These kind of thing, like there is a rule which is calling rule bank view of map customer tier value to properties, and then from there we are fetching the icon. See this icon. Based upon the value, the icon is changing its color. Similarly, whatever you want to put the logic, you can do. The simple explanation is this. Now, if you go to customer sense, it is a simple field. Customer sense, sort field, we have provided view of customers dot fields dot created on. Similarly, value a bank restricts display field. Inside that we are having restricts item, and inside that we are having text. FV bank row, view of customer dot created on. Now FV bank row, why we are using FV bank row? Because for every item in the record type, we are pointing to a particular field, and for every row we have to populate it. That is why we are using FV bank row here. I hope you understand. Once you define all the columns, they all become a part as a list. If you can see that it is a part of list starting from line number 9 and ending till line number 119. It is a part of a list. So columns is nothing but a list of column configurations using a bank grid column function. Next, we are having page size, show when. These properties are also quite common in like editable grid also. Show when, selectable, like these kind of things. Validations, do you have any specific validation? Spacing height, I already showed you in the design mode. These kind of things. Show search box, show refresh button. Now, good thing to notice in read-only grid is you are getting a global search field, like it's kind of a search component which is coming by read-only, which is coming in read-only grid. It is just kind of a unique thing that whatever you have inside your data source, you can search anything. It is a global search. For example, if I search standard, so I will not search completely. I will just search STAND. I'll click. Okay, this tier is coming from a logic. Let's search uh, customer details. Yes. So if I am using partial keywords, then also it is doing the global search to find anything, any column value from my source which is having this keyword. Similarly, for example, if I search lake, LAKE, in an address, so I am getting all the addresses where the lake is. So this search is sometimes useful when you have to build a logic of search and you don't have a lot of functions to do. Then you can use read-only grid and allow the user to search globally on the values that are pertaining to different rows. Similarly, we are having paging functionality. Read-only grid works well in terms of user accessibility and stuff. So if you go at the bottom, you can see where the read-only grid can be used and where it cannot be used. If you can see, you can see that portals and Appian offline mobile, they both, in the both cases, read-only grid is compatible. So this is a very good thing. In Appian portals, if read-only grid is compatible, that yes, you can showcase the data to the intended user using Appian portals. The similar documentation is provided here, like what are the different kind of function definitions can be there. You can have a look on this at the time when you are studying this read-only grid. It is available in Appian documentation. Till then, just understand that yes, the intention of read-only grid is to provide you a default paging facility and search ability. Also, you are having the ability to design the column values as per the source that you are having and implement your own logic. For example, if my value of customer details is Mackay's, I can put another color here, anything I can do. Similarly, with conditions of tier, as you can see in the code, the tier is coming from a rule and there are certain logic implemented for tier to be coming from different color icons. So you can do whatever you want when you are implementing a business logic. The logic is yours, the use case is yours, the containers are provided by Appian. How you have to do it, the documentation is provided. What can be done and what cannot be done, that also is provided. And that's all about read-only grid. If there is anything else that you want me to cover, feel free to drop a comment. Till then, Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. And yeah, keep learning, keep growing. Till then, I'll see you in the next lecture. Bye bye.